Hello, everyone. It's Jerry at the Fledge. Welcome to another episode of Every Damn Day. And today on the show, we've got our great friend Brent from Loaves and Fishes Ministry. How you doing today, Brent?
How you doing, Jerry? Just wanted to say good afternoon and welcome everybody. Told Jerry I'd do it the way he does, so we're going to do it that way.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. And we got another little thing at the beginning of each show where we describe where we're at and what we look like a little bit. And so I'm Jerry. I'm got my headphones on. I got brown hair, brown eyes. I've got a black shirt on that says Fledge Fest 2016. It was quite the lineup back then. And I'm on the stage at the Fledge with James Bignell's painting behind us of the Leelanau Peninsula. So where you at, Brent? What you look like?
I am tucked down in the basement of the Fledge here. Thanks for providing the setup because I didn't have it where I was at. I'm in front of a little tapestry, it looks like, of horoscopes and things like that. As far as me, I'm a simple man. I got glasses that my daughter Grace, hi Grace, that she doesn't like because they're embarrassing. She likes my other ones better. I got my ball cap that I have on 365 days of the year. Even when I was in corporate America, I tried my darndest to show up with this every day. And then in the winter, you will always see me with a knit hat over it. Been doing it since I'm 19. I don't really know why, but that's just my thing. As far as clothes, I am simple. I got 3 pairs of jeans, 3 overcoats, and a couple of various T-shirts. I try to be as minimal as I can because that just seems to work for me.
Sounds perfect. Sounds light and easy.
That's what we're aiming for.
So let's jump into the subject of you and your projects.
Subject to me. Come from a big family. There's 8 of us. A very conservative religious family. Was raised in many ways in a bubble. A couple of us have popped that bubble and gone outside, and I'm one of those that did that. I and my family, we've got some anxiety, depression issues. I'm very open and honest about where I've come from. There's addiction in our family line. We all have been fighting and struggling with that for our whole lives, but we don't talk about it. For me, my thing, and the only way that I was able to heal myself was to put it all out on the table and love myself for who I am and what I do. So that really brought me to where I am today. I'll give you a little bit of that journey. I'm a certified teacher, or I was. So I've worked in education. I've worked in corporate, chasing the American dream. And I was just miserable because I needed more. I had to have more. And for me, it was about things and not people. Took me a long time. I'm 47 years old this year. I'd say for maybe the last 2 years of my life, I've been comfortable being me. And that's just realizing that with my anxious mind, I need to stop chasing things that don't matter to me. I need to focus on what my soul is saying, what my heart's saying, and I need to follow that path. And it's been an amazing couple of years, I have to say that. What it took for me to get over that was just to be real. I needed to accept who I was, the things that I've done. I needed to talk about the shame. And that's, for me, that was such a healing process. And that didn't begin until I started working at Loaves and Fishes. I was coming out of my second divorce, another one that I finally acknowledged that I was the one that was the big problem in it because I didn't know what was going on in my head. I didn't know what my obstacles were. And once I figured out and accepted the fact that my brain works a little bit differently than other people, it allowed me to start building a life with different tools and addressing what I need. One of my needs is helping people. I felt empty when I started working at Loaves and Fishes, and just the relationships that I formed, not just with the staff, but with the individuals that come there. These are many of them lifelong connections. One of my best friends out there, Shanetta, how you doing? I met her at Loaves and Fishes. We talk every week. She's going to be a part of my life forever, and so are so many of the people that come through Loaves and Fishes. It's the unconditional love that was given to me was absolutely healing.
Can you spend some time telling us about Loaves and Fishes for
Absolutely.
those out there who don't know what they do?
Yeah, Loaves
What
and
you guys
Fishes.
do?
Yeah, we are one of the lesser known, smaller homeless shelters in the Lansing area. There are amazing places like City Rescue and Holy Cross. You've got Homeless Angels that are doing the hotel thing. We've got Cardboard Prophets who are helping so many people outside the system. There's so many other more well-known. We operate in a house. Early 1980s, the founders of Loaves and Fishes, they bought a house because they just wanted to help people. We have 4 beds for women in our emergency shelter. We have 6 beds for men, and that's it. We can fit 10. That's our capacity. When in inclement weather like this, we may be able to put a couple other people in there, but we are definitely a lot smaller than the other shelters that go out there. And in some ways, that's a handicap, but Jerry, you know as well, some ways that gives you the ability to be a little bit more flexible. And that's been really great, because I feel like the more that we can give to the community, the more that we can build our community, and we can have people who have come through help support the next ones coming through. It's all about building that community and making people feel their own worth. And I feel like that's what we do at Loaves and Fishes.
Yeah, thank you for that. That you just spoke beautifully for that whole time. I'm sorry I even had interrupted once. That was very nice. And thank you for sharing that with us. We at the Fledge, we have a 9 a.m. meeting every day on Zoom that anybody can come to. And Therapy Thursday, we do every week, and we pick a different subject, and we talk about, I'm going to put this comment up from the crowd. She just said, LOL, shame, our favorite topic, because we talk about that constantly, because it's a tough subject, and it makes you tuck so many things away and hide from so many people. And it really takes a lot of courage to be vulnerable enough to accept that change, or that shame, and the change for that matter.
And so I'll be honest with you. I could sit out here and tell you all the horrible things in my life that I've done. It's not really why I came here. What brought me here was the acceptance of those things, and the understanding that my choices, my missteps, my faults, they're all part of me. I can't put them away. And once they're all out on the table, there's nothing to hide. I don't have to pretend to be anything. And when our guests come in there, I don't want them to have to pretend to be anything, because for us, the Loaves and Fishes in any shelter, we are trying to do 2 things. We're trying to, 1, find out what that obstacle is. We have to have people trust us enough to tell us what the obstacle is that put them in that situation. And the other thing we need to find out is what they're an expert at, because I've learned so much from the people that have come into our shelter. They have, in so many ways, taught me how to do my job and told me what they need. And it's been humbling, because I know that I'm not an expert, but I know so many experts around me with homelessness that it's really is humbling.
I think, with the stigma around what a homeless or a houseless person is, I don't think many people would have heard, the expert, what's their expertise? What are they an expert at? In the same sentence as homeless. Please.
Another friend that I have out there, Levi, how you doing? Levi has been out on the streets for years. He has found a way to survive. That man has a strength that we can only hope for. To be able to survive how he survived in the elements with the challenges that he's faced, that's something that all of us should strive for. My goal at Loaves and Fishes is to help people see their worth, and to help them find a way to go after their passions, because that's what's going to change people's lives. We have a cycle right now where People get into houses, people get evicted to houses. We put someone into a house 2 years later, they're back here. We're missing something with that transition. We're missing something. We're getting the housing, but we're not changing the way the individual sees it. And it could be anything from...
I think the weather is messing with our internet a second.
Oh, okay. All right. So yeah, I don't know exactly where I was on that, Jerry. Sorry, but yeah, I think we just need to help people with those life skills and those obstacles that they need.
Yeah. We were cutting out a little bit, but I think you flowed through. So I couldn't I'm making sure the crowd can hear us right now. I think the storm might be messing with our internet a little bit, which leads me into what I was going to say anyways. Right now, you talked about him being out there and surviving, and we're about to go into single digits. The wind chill out right now is killer and literally killer. And man, the next 2 weeks look like they're about that same. Yeah. So, what are I don't know where I want to take this right now, because the other thing I have on my mind is when you came a couple weeks ago and you and I just sat and talked, and we were talking about the back 40 and the 6 people, or maybe it's up to 10 or so now, what they're going to do. And I don't know, I'm going to shut up and try to hand this back over to you.
I'll be honest with you, when it comes to the back 40, I'm not going to be the expert on that. And I think I told you that before. I've only seen it in videos and on the news. I've talked to people who have been there, but I haven't been there myself. I do know that one of the hardest things for some individuals is coming into a shelter and losing what they perceive as freedoms, because they are, a lot of them, just saying, I don't like the way this society works. I am forgotten. I'm not heard. If I'm not heard, I'm going to disappear. And it's hard to break through that. I have someone at the shelter right now. He's actually, you know him, Jerry, but he was living in a shed for a long time. Like, this is the first time he has made it 30 days in a shelter. And he came into my office just so proud of that. First time he's ever made it 30 days. In order for him to make those 30 days, I had to make some decisions in the moment that treated him differently than I treated some other people. And that's the hard part, is being able to reach 10 different individuals on 10 different levels and meet them where they're at and show them that love. Because the truth is, more important than them trusting me is me trusting them is I have to get them to trust me. Because I can't just tell somebody to do something. I can't just say, go apply to this house. If they don't want to live on the south side, that isn't going to work. I have to listen to what they need, what they want. And I basically use myself as a traffic director, pointing them to different resources. They do my job for me. I just have to get it to the point where I can hear what they have to say and what they need.
I want to go back to the term that you used, meeting people where they're at. Yeah. Because out of, if 100 people come around here today, they're all in different places. And I think that term gets thrown around a lot, but people might not always, if you haven't done that with a population that's poor or angry or and I'm not saying this about all homeless people. I'm just saying people, they show up in different states. They show up in different places in their life. And can you describe an example of like where you met someone?
Yeah.
Is that too much? Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm going to talk about Levi. Reason I'm going to talk about Levi is because Levi has not been at the shelter. Levi is someone that I know from just street outreach. And so as far as the shelter, we do have various rules as far as confidentiality and stories and things like that. So I can't mention names or specifics. Mm-hmm. Levi's a friend. He really is. I'm sorry, I lost the direction. Where did you say? Oh, unconditional. Yeah. So Levi and I have had ups and downs. There have been times when he refuses to talk to me. He has shown up at my work. He has threatened me. The one thing that I have learned, and it's not just at this job in life, the thing that's given me the most peace is to look at people's reaction this way. It is just that. It's a reaction to something they are feeling. The anger directed towards me, the yelling, the threats, that's just them trying to get it out. That it is not me. And what I try to do is when things like that happen, when people get upset, when people yell, I know they needed to get that out. And I just make sure that they know that I still love them. I'm still going to be there if they have questions. And I can't tell you the number of people that I have asked to leave our shelter because they broke certain rules, who still call me on my personal cell phone and still reach out and, need somebody to be there. So that's what I try to do. Sometimes I can't always do that, but I try my hardest. So,
as you were talking, it got me thinking about your story, and I've never thought about this question before, but did you have to meet yourself where you were at?
What's funny? Two things as far as accepting myself got me where I was. I briefly mentioned the shelter, but the shelter was the first place in my life where I could talk to strangers, and most of them were homeless, about what I did, where I was, what was going on in my mind. And there was no judgment because everybody is broken. Everybody has sorrowful, sad, regretful things in their lives. And when you get it out, that helps. So that helped me bring me to that acceptance. The other one, which may seem strange because at the time it was the worst thing that ever happened in my life, is I got fired from a great job in corporate America. I mean, we had talked briefly about my anxiety and depression, but the way that I always used to deal with that was to just hide and lie and push things aside and pretend that, I want to be the me that you need me to be. What brought me peace is when I got fired, I hit certain depths that I never hit. And it really made me evaluate things, because looking back, I can say that I should have been fired long before I was. I was mentally broken, and they did me such favors by letting me try to work through it. What also that did is that gave me a chance to look elsewhere for a purpose. And that's how I got to Loaves and Fishes.
You and I talked a couple of times about not really necessarily Loaves and Fishes Ministries, but just about the systems and the organizations and the everything around houselessness or homelessness. You want to dive into that a little bit?
Yeah. I mean, again, I want to make clear, I'm no expert. I've been doing this for 3 months. So take what I have with a grain of salt. And there are so many experts out there that know more than me. But one thing in my life, my brain works in a weird way, but I do notice patterns, and I have trained myself to notice obstacles. Some of the obstacles that I have dealt with at Loaves and Fishes are just getting people through the simple process, because first thing you have to do is get identification. You can't get housing until you have certain identification. You can't get jobs until you have certain identification. When we start looking for identification, the first thing they're going to need is an ID, a birth certificate. They're going to need a social security card. There are so many obstacles because they don't have a home address. They've lived at 14 homes and had 78 phone numbers in the last 6 years. When you go to set up an online account at Social Security to verify so you can get your card in the mail, most of the times they have to go into the office, which, by the way, is closed right now. They have to go into that office in order to get what they need. The problem is that when you're talking about people that move, Social Security Administration verifies ID for, obvious reasons. And one of the things that they do is they say, did you have this phone number? Did you have this email? Did you have this address? And with these men and women bouncing around in moments of crisis, sometimes they don't even remember what that is because they've got more important things like, where am I going to eat? What do I do when I have to leave here? What do I do during the day if I can't stay here? How do I stay away from the person that's bringing me back to my addiction? These are all things that we have to consider. And it's hard when you're talking about ID because identification lets them know who they are, lets them tell other people who they are. So that's one of the frustrations. In fact, I was talking to you a while back about how excited I was because I thought that I found a way around the struggles for the state IDs, and I found out that I'm wrong on that, which is unfortunate. A while back, I think 2017, a law was created that was supposed to help people experiencing homelessness acquire a state ID. And what they need to bring is a letter from the shelter saying that, they've been in a shelter for 14 days and they have to bring a HMIS, that's a homeless management information system that manages not just in Lansing, but all over Michigan, manages information. And it helps track homelessness and pull statistics, and it does some amazing things. But what they're supposed to do is get an ID from that, take that and the letter, go to Secretary of State, and then get an ID. That's what I thought. What really happened is they wrote this law where these men and women are still required to bring the same 3 forms of ID, which may have been thrown in the trash after they got kicked out of a shed, which may have been left at another shelter because they couldn't bring all their stuff and get on the cattle-bus. And so we still need to track down 3 forms of ID to prove who they are. And that letter and that ID, all that does is save them $10. And I don't believe that was the intention of that law, because the $10 is not the obstacle. The identification is the obstacle. So those are some things as far as that every shelter has to deal with. As far as Lansing in general, what I'd love to see more is all of these organizations working together, carrying over casework. If they leave your shelter and you were helping them and you're onto something, either share that with the next person, give them a call, or continue that work yourself. And that I do it 2 ways, whatever other people are more comfortable with. And I've had great responses. There's some amazing caseworkers out there. And I just feel like sometimes, at least where I'm at, you can kind of feel like you're on an island. And I'm just trying to reach out to find people out there that are going to help that. Because like I said, I'm new to this. I'd love to say I'm an expert, but I don't know that I ever will be, because this is an ever evolving field.
Yeah. So as like when I went out to the back 40 and I talked to Bill and his friends out there, and one of the steps to get housed, like with Section 8 vouchers and all of that, is to go into a shelter of some sort. That's a requirement, right?
I don't know that it's a requirement. They have wait lists out there, and like I said, there are people who are much better experts at this. I know that if you're in a shelter, an email gets sent out to those caseworkers, and the people from those shelters get put on a list. I think it's more of a prioritization as it is an exclusion, but I would have to double check that. Like I said, this is one of those things that we refer out. My job for the Section 8 is to make sure that once they get the voucher, we find them a place to go. And then before they get the voucher, they get all the identification and information needed to submit it.
One of the concerns is going into a shelter again,
Yes.
And I've heard, like when I was talking to Bill, we talked about, poor people look at them and think, I can pray over you and I can preach to you and I'll give you soup after you do this lesson. Is Loaves and Fishes like that? And is that a bad, mean question? These are soft interviews.
No, not at all. Loaves and Fishes is based on a Christian ministry. I'm going to be honest with you about that. I myself am not a Christian. We do, have a prayer before meals. We do not deny food. We don't, if someone isn't there for a prayer or anything like that. I can't speak too much as far as other shelters and how that happens. I know that based on where that or how that shelter was created, they have different principles and different objectives. For me personally, my objective when people come in is, again, to meet them where they're at and find out how I can help them get where they want to go. And that's what I try to do.
Before, there's people, at least two, Erica and James. They both, Erica runs an organization called Jubilee that helps homeless people. And James is Lifeboat Network Center, I think is its proper name. And that's for people in recovery. So they'd like to collaborate at some point. I'll introduce you all.
Anyone out there that wants to collaborate, I'm all about community knowledge and collective empowerment. That's what I want.
Yeah, and direct action. You make stuff happen.
I try.
Before we go into the part of the show where I ask you about every damn day and all of that, are there any big subjects any more that you wanted to cover?
For me, the one thing that I personally will be working towards, at some point I want to move on and be more of a transition, help people with their transition from homeless shelters into independent living. That's one of the things I'm trying to incorporate a little bit more at Loaves and Fishes, cooking skills and computer skills and all those things. I think right now the way the system works, when people get into housing, the system counts that as a victory for whatever shelter they were in, and then the story ends. And to me, that part of the story is amazing and inspiring that they got there, but the real work starts when they get in their home and they don't have caseworkers there every day. They don't have the rules telling them they can and cannot do things. They've got to figure it out their own way. And sometimes that freedom is just too much. And if it is, what I hope is that we build a transition system where if they get overwhelmed, we can help catch them before it's too late. Because one of the people that I talked to that moved from our shelter into her own place in December, she's already struggling. And we need to, I guess I need to, as far as Loaves and Fishes, find a way to help with that transition and support that transition and get them to understand that whatever way they want to do it, it doesn't have to be my way. We just have to find a way that makes them comfortable and lets them keep their home. So
see, I think you're spot on there, because there are a lot of great organizations helping to work through the struggles of the ID and the vouchers and the Section 8 and all of that. And then, I read a lot about like Amsterdam housed all of their homeless people, and it failed the first time because they didn't give them counseling to go with it and to do exactly like you're saying. And I would get excited when you say that, because I always want to offer up the Fledge to you for, can they come here? And, food security is a problem. So if they need food, obviously they can come here. But,
Jerry, on that
classes. Yeah.
On that topic of food security, that to me is one of the biggest needs. A lot of the men and women that we move into houses are dependent on the CATA system. So shopping looks a certain way. Even if they have a bridge card, it's like you can only get so much at a time. You're going to be walking blocks. For me, one of the biggest needs, and that's where I break out of my traditional role, is once people get into homes, I make sure that if they got a food bank delivery, my car is available to drop it off at their house. And to me, that is the best way to follow up with somebody. I'm not checking in on them. I'm not making sure everything's okay. I'm just bringing food and saying, how are you doing? But I can see when I go in that house if things are looking okay. And if they're not, I can have those conversations. So,
yeah. You're awesome, man. I like what you do.
I appreciate that, Jerry. But like I said, I really am just somebody that's directing traffic and a logistics guy with the car. All the awesome stuff is other people telling me how to do it. And our volunteer coordinator, Dorothy Moore, she is so knowledgeable. She's taught me how to do what I do as far as the casework goes. Linda Carl, whenever I have something that I'm stumped on from Cardboard Profits, I can call her and she will be real with me and let me know if I'm off track or, if it's something possible. For me, those are the people that are awesome because I do what I can and then I just reach out and I say help. And once they tell me how to handle that or, give me some different options, then I can do my job. So.
Is there something you do every damn day to push this needle forward?
What I do every day, to be honest with you, and it's not just this that just pushes me forward. It's that self-love, it's accepting who I am. It's questioning and catching myself in those vicious anxiety cycles. Like I told you how nervous I was to come here today. Me telling you that was what I needed to do to get over it. I used to hide that kind of stuff and then crack under pressure. I just, every day, I try to be honest with myself. I accept my failures. If I fail with something, I examine it. Why did I do that? How did I make that decision in that moment? And how do I stop myself from doing that again? And for me, that self-acceptance and that understanding that I'm not perfect, I'm going to make mistakes, that's what gets me through every damn day. Because unless I have that peace of mind and simplify and remove my own obstacles, I'm not going to be able to do what I want to do because I'm going to be stuck in that same prison I used to be in.
All the shows are like my kids, so I got to be nice to all the shows. But that was one of my favorite answers to every damn day. I've heard self-love a lot. Mm-hmm. I haven't heard it that far and what that meant to the person as much as you just did. That was very nice.
Jerry, here's the thing. When you really talk to men and women who are experiencing homelessness and what they go through, a lot of them are suffering from mental illness. There's a lot of anxiety and a lot of depression and a lot of things that are happening. They have helped by being honest about what they do and what they want and how they get through it. And that has helped me form where I'm at. So I don't know. I'm glad you like it, but it's not really my answer. It's begged, borrowed, and stealed from other people. So,
well, I think that if they're opening up, it takes that vulnerability. So you're eliminating threats, you're eliminating barriers, and you're letting them open up and not be the reaction that maybe they're used to. They got to protect themselves constantly. They're in fight or flight.
They do. And I used to be a teacher, and it reminds me a lot of every time that I would get a new class. The first few weeks that class were there, they were in testing mode. Do you really mean what you say? Are you really going to follow through? Do you really care for me? When the kids or when anyone blows up at you, again, I just go back to that. It's not me. I'm not going to take it personally. How do I help them identify and deal with that pain and that obstacle? So it's a pretty simple philosophy, to be honest with you. And that's why I like it, because I have to streamline things with my anxiety and just, grab onto the closest pole as tight as I can. So that's where I'm at in life, just trying to get through every damn day.
Thank you. So we daisy chain these shows together. And yesterday on the show, I had Mark, who's trying to kind of rebrand the state as the sharkless sea and not so much where Nestle steals their water from. And his question that he wanted me to pass to you was, should people, like the back 40 is kind of taken care of, but should people be going out and doing direct action and feeding at little camps that are popping up, helping them get porta potties, helping them, or should people just keep trying to push towards shelters or other things?
Well, we talked before. Shelters are not the answer for everybody. They just aren't. That's why it's great that Homeless Angels and Cardboard Profits and are doing things in hotels, because it's a different environment. As far as what people should do, my thing in life is I don't ever tell people what to do, but there are dangers involved with that. Obviously, it's my ex-wife, is concerned with some of the things that I do in places and situations I put myself in. I try to be smart. I try not to be reckless with that, but for what I do and me personally, it's something that I have to do. And I don't know why. Like I said, there's something that is working a little different up here, but it makes me happy to do what I do. So like for me, the only way that I recovered from my second divorce was by understanding that there is a healing power in helping people, and that healed me. So I'm not going to tell anyone don't do it, but before you do it, I would talk to people, become educated, and make sure that you do it in a safe way.
Yeah, that's great advice. People do go out and put themselves in some really tricky spots sometimes, and
They do.
Yeah, and that, yeah, you got to learn how to do this. That's the good advice out of this. Tomorrow on the show, I've got Denise. She's got Heal. I can't say Hands for Needs Wellness and Massage Center. And what question would you like me to pass on to her?
Well, for me, it's all about obstacles. Like I was telling you earlier, I have to help other people, and I have to continue to do it for myself, identify the obstacles that have me stuck. So I guess the question would be, what was the biggest obstacle that you overcame, and how'd you do it? Because to me, those are the things that change lives. That's when directions get changed. That's when people realize there is hope, is when you finally acknowledge your demons. Because usually when you start dealing with it, you realize it was all in your head. It may be an obstacle, but it's definitely not one that you can't get past. And when you get past that, it gives you a different perspective.
Yeah. So I always turn that question around for the guest after they ask it, but I feel like you really answered that a lot. No, that's okay. Because you said that word hope in there, and I just want to examine that a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, I think of hope as a bubble that surrounds me. And when I am starving and desperate and trying to figure out how I'm going to pay a bill, my hope just squeezes in on me and it becomes less and less and less, but it's always around me. I've never met it. There's a Russian or German saying that says hope is the last to die. And I think, there's always hope, but it gets tighter and tighter. At some way, you're just expanding that bubble of hope for people, or in a lot of ways. Do you ever look at it like that?
I don't know that I look at it necessarily like I'm expanding. I'm giving people an opportunity to be accepted, to be loved, to not be judged. And usually when you give that environment to someone, they know what they need to do. I believe that everybody's got the answer inside their heart, but we convince ourselves based on society rules or based on what we've been taught growing up or based on our fears and shame. What we do is we hide that stuff and we don't pursue what our body, what our heart, what our soul knows that we need to do. I remember it was 10 years ago telling my old boss at Thomson Reuters, I was in the middle of my first major mental breakdown. And she was always there for me. But one of the things that I told her was, someday, I just want to get out of corporate America. Someday, I want a job that pays me to just help people who have nothing. And it was always a someday thing, and it's crazy because here I am like 10 years later doing exactly what I said all I want to do in life is this. Now I'm doing it. And now there's just so much more that I want to do. So that's how hope starts, is by somebody just listening and getting it out there. The universe takes care of all the rest of it, man.
I love it. So real quick, I just out to the crowd. We're trying to get more subscribers on our YouTube channel. I'm sorry for this horrible plug, but whatever. But I want to be able to have captioning, and I need to get to 1,000 subscribers before that's even feasible for me to do. So I'm just going to plug. I sent the link out to the YouTube channel. Please subscribe to our channel and get us over this threshold. And that's in an effort to improve accessibility based on Chris Knapp from Accessiversity giving us that input. So shout out to him real quick. So I want to get that out there. And then back to you real quick. Oh, wait, there's a question. What's your website for Loaves and Fishes?
It is loavesandfisheslansing.org. I will be honest with you. We are in the process of redesigning it. So what you see out there is different than what will be published in probably a month. So that's one of the things. Okay.
Between Loaves and Fishes, is it AND?
Yes, AND.
Thank you. And of course, I did it wrong. And then I interrupted you. You said there's a change coming.
Yeah, we're just updating some things. It's an older, more dated website. So we're working with a consulting group to try to streamline it, make sure that we have a mobile version, things like that. Do you mind if I do a shameless plug here as well?
This is definitely do a shameless plug. Or
I just want to say hi to my daughters, Grace and Nora. I love you. I hope that you're watching. You probably got bored a long time ago, though, but I'll at least be able to say I said it. And then the other thing is due to coronavirus, the one thing that we at Loaves and Fishes are struggling with the most are volunteers. If anybody at all wants to help us, please call Loaves and Fishes and ask for Dorothy, ask for Brent. We're happy. We have various needs as far as volunteers, because right now we have a couple amazing volunteers that are harboring the entire load that 2 years ago or a year and a half ago was split between about 100 people. It's most of our volunteers were senior citizens and college students, and just because of coronavirus, we don't have that normal pool that we have to pull into.
All right, so we'll share that around too. I know there's a lot of you out there that want to volunteer somewhere because you call us and we got to kind of push you away sometimes, and we hate it. So we'll be getting some referrals to you too, Brent.
Thank you.
All right. So anything else?
No, I think that's it. We could talk
right.
for hours, you know that, but like we'll pick it up another time.
I think anybody that's hung around me for a long time and listened to me talk about why I do what I do and how I do it, they would think that you and I read the same books. And we did, actually. It's talking to those people that are experts.
Yeah.
So love what you had to say, man. You're doing great.
I appreciate it.
All right, everyone. We will see you later tomorrow on Every Damn Day at 2. See ya.